welcome to another episode of Coffee Convos with Carmen. Today we'll be going to be talking about home inspection and why do we need home inspection and all that good thing. So thank you, Doc, for joining me. And
Thrilled to be here. Thank you for
so
the
much.
opportunity.
Of course. So if you want to tell us more about the home inspection and why do we need home inspection and who takes care, like is it the buyer that requested, is it the seller?
So I'm going to quickly read a very recent Yelp review because I think this sets the table for why home inspections are important.
Nice.
This is just a month or so ago. This is from Koa. I contemplated on skipping the home inspection and I'm very glad I did not. Doug was thorough in his inspection and pointed out everything wrong with the house. He found a leak in the patio, which would have cost $10,000 to fix. The sellers agreed to fix and replace the damaged part of the patio. So for a small home inspection fee, I think it was about $450, they saved roughly $12,000
Wow.
credit. Now that is a very specific example. And recently we had our largest credit ever given to one of our buyers in an escrow process. The house was listed at 175, under contract at 175. And after the inspection process, the buyer's agent was able to negotiate it down to $1.5 million. So
Wow.
$250,000 was the price reduction based on the
findings
concerns and the
of the-
defects that we found in the house.
Wow. So for a minimal fee that they always ask, should we get it? Should we get it?
Absolutely.
Definitely
Yeah,
they
absolutely.
should get it.
And about 80 to 90% of our clientele are the buyers who are buying either a resale property or new construction. And about 10% of our business is actually new construction. And
So even the new construction, they would get home inspection.
Absolutely. I've done over 5,000 inspections. 10% or roughly 500 are brand new construction. And I've never had a perfect house,
Wow.
meaning we always find defects. Fewer usually in a new construction house, but certainly we do find defects in a new construction house.
Excellent.
And then about 10% of our clientele are sellers who are wanting to find out.
See, you're reading my mind. That's the thing. Because I advise my sellers, why don't you get home inspection before we list the house? Because it helps you knowing what are we getting in. Yeah, they always know and they love their
Right.
house and it's emotional thing. But you have to know physically what's wrong with the house. If you've been
Yeah.
living there 20, 30 years and it didn't break on you, that doesn't mean it's
Absolutely.
functioning well.
So we call that a pre-listing inspection.
Okay.
And it really serves two purposes. One is to educate the homeowner on what will likely come up in a buyer's comprehensive inspection, so the seller can either choose to remedy it before that buyer's inspection, or at least be able to speak to the defect that's being pointed out. And the second issue that sellers really should think about is from a mitigating future liability perspective, instead of them being on the hook for disclosing all the defects with the house, they hired a professional home inspection company, and they literally, typically the listing agent will import our reports onto the listing agreement. So there it is for the world to see, all of the defects that a professional certified home inspector found, meaning it's taking the homeowner off the hook from
the liability,
from legally disclosing or not disclosing.
So that's the thing. They do not have to disclose it. They just have to attach the report.
Absolutely.
Okay,
absolutely.
so they don't have to say this is this and everything. They just attach the report and hear the buyer talk about it and look at it.
Yep. And again, it's all about mitigating that future liability.
Okay. And I usually advise my buyers when I'm representing, I'm the buyer agent, to get this out of the way really very quick. When they get their house offer accepted, to do the home inspection before we waste time and look at disclosure and sign paper, and then they come and have the home inspection and surprises comes up. And we are like day 10 or day 15. So what is your say on
So I agree 100%. I think you're giving your clients wonderful advice.
Okay.
Typically, the first inspectors at a home after escrow has been opened would be the general home inspection and a termite inspection.
Correct.
With the general home inspection, based on the findings, If the inspection company, the inspector, thinks that further, more comprehensive inspection should be performed by trade specialists, then that's what the recommendation will be. For example, I was in a home here in Yorba Linda this morning, a 2-year-old home. The dishwasher failed about halfway through the cycle. An error code came on. So in that case, you would expect, the recommendation will be in the report, to have a qualified appliance representative take a look and figure out, why is this 2-year-old dishwasher failing halfway through the cycle?
And thank you for bringing this. It's only 2 years old home, and still we're having home
Oh,
inspections.
absolutely.
So I would
absolutely.
never, I will never advise my buyer not to have it and save a couple of $100 again. The price differs, I know, but the thing is, it's minimal cost compared to the damage that can happen without having it.
Absolutely. I tell clients this all the time. We look and inspect 100-year-old homes in San Pedro, Pasadena, Long Beach that are in pristine condition. And we look at 5 and 10-year-old homes in Corona del Mar, Newport Beach that are in terrible condition. Because how a house is cared for, managed,
Correct.
mothered,
Maintenance.
fathered means everything. So new doesn't mean everything is in good condition, and old doesn't mean necessarily that everything's in poor condition.
Got you. And then the thing is, the question asked every time, do they cover roofs? Do they inspect the roofs if it's not an HOA covered? Do they do the fireplace? What is included beside the interior of the house?
So typically,
The attic?
so typically most inspection companies will comment on or inspect everything that they can see or touch.
Okay.
So meaning if there is an attic and there is access to the attic, meaning it's not in a closet full of personal belongings, then the inspector will make entry into the attic. Same with a crawl space, for example. If the crawl space is accessible, typically they will go in. Now, a roof is one of two things. If a roof has the type of roof covering or material that can be easily walked on, for example, an asphalt shingle, then typically we mount the roofs and inspect it literally from walking on it and viewing it. If we can't get on the roof, or if it's a tile roof, for example, where it's a more fragile type of roof covering, we'll send up a drone, and a drone will take pictures and videos of the roof, and we can identify defects with these drones that take incredibly detailed pictures.
How about the fireplace and the fire pit? Would you inspect the fire? Because I know some people say no, we don't want it to be lit in the home. So what's your take?
Typically, well, some inspection companies do and some don't. In California, this is interesting. We are one of about half of the states that don't require home inspection companies to be licensed. And many people are surprised. Many realtors are surprised when they hear that.
That was my next question.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, there's no requirement in California, the state that regulates everything, to license real estate home inspectors. So you could call yourself a home inspector.
Really, and just go and check it out and say yes or no?
Yeah, that's why it's very important when either an agent or a client is vetting potential home inspectors, ask the questions. Are you a certified professional inspector? Do you have insurance? In my case, I have both general liability and errors and omissions, a $500,000 policy, which I'm thrilled to say over 5,000 inspections. I've never had one claim. Fingers crossed that we stay that way.
Okay, so buyers always ask, okay, so if they find something, are they going to repair it? So, and yes or no?
So, you know this, and in California, houses are sold by contract, the residential purchase agreement. They're sold as is, where is. So really, with very few exceptions, homeowners under no obligation to repair or replace anything. My experience is market conditions, if it's a buyer's market or a seller's market, really drives how much a homeowner's willing to compensate, negotiate. Yes, I love that. Yes.
But the question is for home inspector. Do you fix it if you find it? Because they say, okay, we paid them already the fees to inspect, but they have to. We have to be very clear. It is the fees to inspect, not to repair. Yeah.
So most certified professional inspectors have a relationship with a trade organization. I happen to be a member of INTERNACHI, the International Association of Home Inspectors. And it clearly states that we can't, for 1 year after the physical inspection has been performed, do any repair work on the property because
you
of
will
a
be
potential
biased.
conflict of interest, right?
Perfect.
So my opinion, and I agree 100% with our company's standard, is you absolutely cannot fix or repair things. We are inspectors, we're not repair people. So if we think something needs to be repaired, have an electrician look at electrical issues, have a plumber look at plumbing issues. So the answer is we inspect, we don't repair.
Okay, perfect. And again, with the fireplace and the fire pit, I don't think we addressed this. Do you cover it in your
Sure.
inspection?
Yeah,
You do.
we actually do if it's a natural gas burning fireplace and the natural gas supply is functioning, we will turn it on, light it, take a picture of it lit, and take a look and see if there's a damper clamp, which you always hear at inspections where there's never a damper clamp. But yes, it's just an example of another component or system. If we can see it, we will inspect and comment on it. Many times though, for example, a large TV will be in front of a fireplace or an office will be built in front of a fire. In that case, we can't comment on it.
Okay, got you. And then my advice always to my buyers, yes, the home inspection would take between 2 hours to 4 hours, depends on the size of the house. If it's a condominium, then they do not check the outside because the outside is not homeowners, it's not buyer's responsibility, it's the association, HOA homeowners responsibility. So they don't do the outside, they don't do roof and stuff, so it takes less time. But my buyers, please come to the end of the home inspection. Please do the walkthrough with us, with Doug, with the home inspector and the agent. So you know what's going on in the house that you're buying and going to be living in. And then we can do the list together. What is the priority? And then again, that's the other thing. You give them a report, which I know your reports are amazing, but they are big reports.
Sure.
So it's very detailed. So they panic. They say, "Oh my gosh, I'm buying something. I'm paying that much, and I have 80 pages of home inspection." I say, "Okay, there are minor stuff, there are major stuff."
So it can be very overwhelming. To your point, when you look at a home inspection report, and typically 50 to 75 pages. What we do in our reports, we try to separate what we think are truly the significant concerns on the property versus nuisance defects. So for example, missing door stops, torn screens, things like that won't be put towards the beginning of the report on the summary pages. So the summary basically memorializes what we think are the biggest concerns on the property. And that could be on average maybe 10 to 15 items in a typical 15 to 2,000 square foot home. But really that's what we encourage the clients to focus on. And I always tell clients, especially young clients, take a deep breath before you start reading the report. And take a deep breath after you read the report, because again, it can be overwhelming. Then I always leave with, you have your professional counsel, your agent that's very experienced, in this case you, Carmen, that will help them through the process.
Okay, perfect. I think you made it very clear. And yes, we want to do another episode about taking a deep breath before you read it and before you ask for repairs. Because again, the seller takes pride in their ownership. So if you go back to the seller and say, "Mr. Seller, we found 20 things that we need repair or credit," the seller usually get offended. And this is where Carmen or your real estate agent comes in place to negotiate and say what makes sense, what we should put there, and how should we put it. Should we just copy and paste with the red bold like this is broken, or how to put it
Absolutely.
in? Okay, perfect. I think we covered a lot, and thank
awesome.
you. Do you have
thank you, Carmen, for having me.
Thank you so much, Doug.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and please in your comments put any remarks, any questions, and we'll address it, me and Doug. Thank you so much.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you.